Oscar De La Hoya of Golden Boy says the UFC's Dana White is disrespectful. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button, also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Now, 2017's lit, lot going on in the world of boxing, and a fight I'm looking forward to, September 16th. Canelo versus Golovkin. Should promise action, maybe some drama. And De La Hoya was recently on ESPN. He talked about that fight. And he talked about the staging of Mayweather versus Mcgregor just a few weeks before Canelo versus Triple G. And I want to read a direct quote, give my thoughts afterwards. Oscar De La Hoya says, "It was disrespectful. I would have thought that Dana White could have a little more respect with this Triple G and Canelo fight taking place. You don't do that. It's like having the Super Bowl and then 3 weeks later, the World Series takes place, the final game. It just doesn't happen. We have the whole year to stage these types of big events. They could have staged it in maybe November or December. It is what it is. We have a super fight here. We have a real fight, and that's exactly what we're focusing on." From Oscar De La Hoya. Shout out to ESPN for that interview. Now, I did a stream when I was in Vegas, and I told you, I knew this. I knew when De La Hoya was petitioning and begging and telling people to boycott Mayweather McGregor. This brings me back to that. And this is a little bit more clarification in my eyes as to why he did that. It really is. Dana White called it a while ago too, so shout out to Dana. He says De La Hoya seems insecure with this fight. And that's, you know what I mean, for lack of a better word, that's a good word. It sounds like he knows, like, make no mistakes about it. See, this boxing fans, some of them are radical, so they're not going to understand what I say. As a boxing fan, me, Ego, Canelo versus Golovkin is a better boxing event because it's a fight we've all wanted to see for at least a year and a half, right? And they're both boxers. So make no mistake about it. The better, more competitive fight where people are like, oh, I don't know, Triple G can knock him out, but Canelo's skills are improving since the Mayweather law. You know what I'm saying? So as a boxing event, right, we know it is the better fight, like what, because they're two boxers, right? But as far as a spectacle, I think Canelo versus Triple G takes a backseat to Mayweather versus McGregor for several reasons. And let me list them. One, Floyd Mayweather has been retired for 2 years since the Berto fight. So Floyd coming back to Vegas is big news because we haven't seen him fight. So naturally, I told you for the remainder, I've said this, I think it was over a year ago, for the remainder of Floyd's careers and guys like Bernard Hopkins, Juan Manuel Martinez, guys who are aging, their fights are going to forever have that curiosity value. Now, I'm not saying Bernard Hopkins is going to do like crazy numbers like when he fought Joe Smith Jr., but people are going to be curious. And Floyd happens, anytime he fights, he does the biggest gates and the biggest events. So for Floyd particularly, since he's a cash cow and he's the #1 pound for pound when he is fighting and he's active, there's always going to be that allure. Will age catch up to him? Will Father Time catch up to Floyd Mayweather? You know what I mean? And the fact that he's been out for 2 years, he's done it before. After he knocked out Ricky Hatton, boom, he went into retirement for 21 months. So basically 2 years, came back and fought Juan Manuel Martinez and dominated him. But he was a bit younger. I don't know his exact age, but let's say he was 33, 32, something like that. You know what I mean? So it's different because he's 40 now. You know what I mean? So the older you get, maybe he's not the same fighter. So that's one thing working for it. Floyd has not fought in 2 years. And when he fights, it's big news, it's big revenue, etc. Two, you have two colorful personalities with Conor versus Mayweather. It's like Mayweather had been doing the trash talking, living the the aristocratic baller life and all this, trash talking his opponents. Oh, baby, it's okay. Shane Mosley got a fake nose. He got a nose job. You know what I mean? Doing all this and bringing chickens to the press conference for the De La Hoya fight. Floyd did that. And the All Access and the 24/7, the classic moments. Victor Ortiz, I remember at the face-off, Mayweather was like sports betting. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. What was he saying? I wasn't paying attention. I'm looking at these bets. You know what I'm saying? Just little antics like that. And Conor McGregor is that to the UFC. He's a guy with the loud mouth, the motor mouth. He's gotten people talking and hyped, stuff like that. You'll do fucking none. I don't know what you're thinking. Like all his antics. He got swag the way he delivers it. So without a doubt, Mayweather versus McGregor, it's a bigger spectacle. It's a circus. And I think people are going to tune in to satisfy curiosity. Even it's like a train wreck. I mean, or a car wreck. You're driving on the freeway next to a car accident. I mean, there's only one of a few outcomes. The car is totaled and smashed and there might be casualties, or it was a fender bender and maybe they got taken away by the paramedics. But you know it's a car wreck once you start seeing like glass on the ground. It's, you know what I mean? You know what it is, but people still drive all slow and look. That's what Mayweather McGregor is. People are going to be driving all slow, rubbernecking to see if what they believe will happen will happen. It's the nature of the beast. In this social media age, this is the perfect fight for something like that, because as soon as Conor starts doing his bits and pieces, people are going to be fully invested in. I remember when it was supposed to be RDA. Like just look at this UFC example. Conor was supposed to fight RDA, moving up in weight out of featherweight to fight RDA. RDA pulls out with an injury. RDA is not a superb trash talker, but as soon as Nate Diaz and Conor start going back and forth, it was all eyes on that fight, and it did over 1 million because people were liking that. He was like, "Oh, you got," what did Conor say? Something like, he's a gangster from some big cholo from Stockton, and he does animal balloons with one hand and gang signs with the neck. You know what I mean? He's doing all this stuff, and Nate Diaz is saying you got submitted by lames and all this, and people bought into it, and it led on to a rematch. And I know that was the UFC, but you think Conor's not going to do that? He's already started. He's calling him Floyd Mayweather, Floyd Senior, and all this, and posting pictures, and you know what it's going to be. So this is precisely, from my view, why Oscar De La Hoya is upset, because he knows his fight is threatened. And I told you this when I was in Vegas last week. Mayweather is a hell of a businessman. He's very strategic. Do you understand? This, to me, is a shot at Golden Boy. One, Mayweather McGregor is taking place on August 26th, which is the date of a Golden Boy, a recently signed Golden Boy fighter, Miguel Cotto, who's going to be fighting in California. So Floyd already beat Cotto. I don't think he has any problems with him like that. But Cotto's now with Golden Boy. And De La Hoya made this fight, and it was announced to the public before the Mayweather fight was announced to the public with McGregor. And McGregor basically took your date. So now you have one of two things. You can either keep your date, and I know for a fact that, see, this is the thing. Cotto versus Kamagai, I told you straight up. Kamagai, he's cool, he's solid, he's a warrior, but that's not a fight I'm really even tripping off of, right? I really don't. I mean, they're fighting for a title, but it's like, that doesn't mean anything. Can the winner fight and beat Jermell Charlo? Can they beat Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, Jared Swift Hurd, Edeslandi Lada? You know what I mean? Let's say Cotto beats Kamagai. Can he beat Edeslandi Lada? You know what I mean? So it doesn't really mean anything, even though it's a title fight. To me, it doesn't. It doesn't really shape the 154-pound division. So Floyd took the date. So you, like I said, you got two choices. You could either, one, bow out from the date, and that'll be a admission to, you knew that this was too big of an event and it was gonna hurt you. So that would be like Mayweather McGregor 1 point, you know what I mean, there on the scoreboard, and 0 for Golden Boy. Or they could keep the date, but it's obviously gonna suffer. So if you guys get my drift, what I'm trying to say to you is Mayweather McGregor, and I know Floyd he doesn't really have a good relationship with De La Hoya. He's killed two birds with one stone. Cotto just recently signed and he's on headlining a Golden Boy card in California at the StubHub Center on the same night. In Vegas, you have Mayweather McGregor. And again, you can say, oh, I'm watching the only boxing one, but there's going to be a ton of other people who aren't, because you have to understand, it's just like my favorite rapper, Tupac Shakur, right? At the level he was at, when you're selling that many records, you're transcending more than the black community, right? Because there's only a certain amount of African American people in the world in general, and not everyone is a certain demographic or age group that even listens to that music, and some people don't have money to buy it, or whatever the situation is. So to me, when you see people who are like multi-platinum and they're big artists like Rihanna, Eminem, Tupac, people like that, Jay-Z, that means you're transcending any one group. You know what I mean? Because you can't be relegated to any one group but do those types of numbers, because it takes a joint collaborative effort, if you guys get what I'm saying, right? So you need casuals to get those numbers. So the crazy Pacquiao Mayweather numbers, that's because it wasn't just diehard only boxing fans. You have people tuning in who probably watch one fight a year, if that. You know what I mean? You need the casuals to get those kind of numbers, and this is the fight for that. Mayweather McGregor will bring not only UFC fans but boxing fans, plus casuals of both. Some people don't even watch MMA that much and boxing that much, but they might watch this just because you know both of the names and it's a freak show, right? And then you look at Cotto versus Kamagai. Nobody in the States really knows Kamagai outside of diehard boxing fans. I know Kamagai. I've seen his fights. Jesus Sotocras 1 and 2, Robert Guerrero, etc. I think he fought Alfonso Gomez. But the world's not really familiar in the States with Kamagai. So you're going to shit on the numbers to that. And the other thing is, it'd be one thing if Cotto Kamagai had been staged in New York, because that's clear across the coast. That's in New York, and the Mayweather McGregor's on the West Coast. But you have two West Coast fights on the same night. So people who live in California, especially if you live in LA where the fight is happening with Cotto, it's a 4-hour drive to Vegas. It's a 40-minute flight from LA to Vegas. So it's still manageable. So people who haven't purchased tickets for Cotto Kamagai yet, and then they heard about this, even if they don't go see it live, they'll probably want to do closed circuits or just be in Vegas for the atmosphere. You know what I mean? So it's going to demolish, I'm telling you, I think it's going to demolish the type of spectacle Mayweather McGregor is. It's going to demolish the numbers for Cotto Kamagai. Then a few weeks later, you have Canelo versus Triple G. So, I mean, Oscar said it himself. It was disrespectful and it was strategic. I mean, like I said, Floyd just killed two Golden Boy birds with one stone. He shitted on the fight that's on the same night and definitely hampered those views. And that's Cotto Kamagai. And although there's another good fight a couple weeks later, you have to understand simple economics. And some people they have families, they have kids, they have bills, they have mortgages, cell phone bills, whatever. Summertime, or summer just ended, right? Back to school shopping, whatever, right? Some people don't have enough money to shell out for Mayweather McGregor, which is happening first, and then just a few weeks later, shell out more money for a pay-per-view for Triple G versus Canelo. So some people, you're going to lose right there. You're going to lose something, especially when they're two mega fights. Like he says Super Bowl, and then 3 weeks later, you got the World Series. So he knows they're both big events. And this is what I told you. This is why De La Hoya is upset, because Mayweather didn't take the quote-unquote Mexican dates, but he killed two birds with one stone by making it right before. Because like De La Hoya said, they could have had this fight later in November or December, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to get his money, and Conor wants to fight another time this year, I heard. So they staged it when they staged it, and they could have staged it after Canelo Golovkin. This is deliberate to me. This is deliberate. This is a deliberate shot to Golden Boy, and is Mayweather doing what Mayweather does. He pulls rank and he shows you, I'm the boss. I'm the cash cow. I have power over this whole game. And that, my friends, is why, in my opinion, De La Hoya is really upset and aggravated, because he knows his number is going to affect. And again, you guys can say whatever you want. Triple G versus Canelo, Triple G is a good fight. But look at the numbers. Only one of those guys has done over 1 million. And it was one time. Right? Canelo's only pay-per-view where he actually surpassed 1 million was versus Floyd Mayweather, the guy who happens to be fighting a few weeks before. His other one with Cotto came damn close. It was like 900,000, 925,000. So he almost has 2. But the other ones, like everything from Angulo to Edislandi Lara to Liam Smith and Amir Khan, those did from like, let's approximate 375,000 to 550,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Canelo's bankable. That's still bankable, good numbers in this landscape of pay-per-view. But Golovkin, he hasn't even cracked 200,000. So although it's a great fight, you really have one major star who has done over 1 million. And when he did over 1 million, he lost to the guy who was fighting a few weeks before. Conor in boxing, he's 0-0. Like, he doesn't, so we don't know what it's going to be. I mean, obviously he's not the favorite and people are picking Floyd to smoke him, but you guys get what I'm saying. So it's a bit of a lure, an enigma when it comes to Mayweather McGregor. We know that Canelo lost to Mayweather. I'm not even talking about Lara, because I thought Lara beat him by a round or 2. Triple G, I thought he lost his last fight to Danny Jacobs. So, and he has, and even if you had him winning, he still hasn't done over 200,000. So by the placement of Mayweather McGregor just a few weeks before, I think this does affect the numbers. I guess Golovkin did an interview and he said he's not tripping. He don't think it'll affect it. You guys can believe whatever you want, but just because it is the better fight doesn't necessarily in this day and age equate to numbers. That's just the sad truth. And I mean, I've covered a lot of these fights, but Crawford Postal, that was a good fight for the division. It was 2 champions. Numbers weren't good. Ward Kovalev won. Numbers weren't good. But it was a great meeting. That was like one of the most meaningful fights last year, if not the most meaningful. Golovkin versus Jacobs. The numbers weren't really great considering 2 champions, Golovkin's biggest test up to that point because we didn't know if the Canelo fight would happen. And the numbers just simply weren't good. Conor, his last few pay-per-view outings have been 1 million plus. He's like 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, whatever. The Nate Diaz ones did good. Chad Mendez did good. That I know UFC 205 did good. You know what I mean? Because they had such a stacked card. The Eddie Alvarez and Conor. And Floyd has several million plus homes. And he set the record with the Pacquiao fight. So, like I said, when you start achieving the numbers that Mayweather-Pacquiao did, then you're transcending more than just pure boxing hardcores. You know what I mean? It has to be. Because if boxing hardcores had that many fans that were just fully prime time invested, this is their #1 go-to sport, then everybody on YouTube in boxing, all their videos would be like at least 100,000. If you had 4.5 million or whatever Mayweather Pacquiao did, if you had that much of a built-in fan base for just diehards, then everybody who has a YouTube channel in boxing, their channel would be like popping. You know what I'm saying? Because you have so many fans that are all looking for the same thing. So it's clear to me, to make the numbers that you have in Mayweather Pacquiao, you have to have casuals. You have to have people who don't routinely watch boxing. They might not have even watched Ward Kovalev 2. They're not watching Takashi Miura versus Miguel Berchelt. They're not going to watch those types of fights. They're only going to watch if it's fucking Wilder versus Hulk Hogan, or, you know what I mean, Mike Tyson and comes back to fight, you know what I'm saying, something crazy. Or Floyd Mayweather and another guy that they know and know the face, Conor McGregor. And that's just the way of the world. So I told you what it is. This to me is why De La Hoya is upset. You guys try to get, some of you guys try to get mad. A lot of people understood because real recognizes real, but that is what it is. I mean, he called it disrespectful. Why is it disrespectful? They can stage dates. This is boxing. You know what I mean? You can stage a date anything you want. That's like me doing a post-fight boxing video, Ward Kovalev, and then another channel puts theirs up, and I'm like, that's disrespectful. How you gonna put yours up within 5 minutes of mine? I don't care. I don't care who. It's a free country. You know what I mean? Everyone wants. I mean, and actually, that actually helps me. You know what I mean? Because more people are talking about it, the more my videos will grow, because people want to hear different opinions and stuff. But the fact that De La Hoya said it was disrespectful is very telling. That means he is feeling threatened, to me, because he was like, Dana White could have had a little more respect. But what De La Hoya might not realize, this is business. There ain't no, like, there's certain levels of respect, but if you could make the amount of money Mayweather McGregor is gonna make, you could, and that's the date Floyd won, and that's the date that it can all go down. Conor's not tripping. You're not worried about what the next promoter, what their dates are. Like, just like they completely shitted on Kodo Kamagai. They don't care. They don't care that, because they know Kodo Kamagai can't compete with this Mayweather McGregor at all. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they say all's fair in love and war. That's the same thing for boxing. There ain't no at the end of the day, people are out for themselves. Dana White can make a shit ton of money. Conor can. Floyd can. Alham, all of them. So the fight is made. They're not worried about what's happening before or after. They just know their package and what they do and what they sell is going to be substantial, and everybody's eating. You know what I mean? But De La Hoya's like, man, that's disrespectful. Dana could have had a little more respect. Why would he? Why would he not stage it when they can make it happen? Like, that's not how negotiations work. You know what I mean? That's why sometimes you see Canelo. I remember Canelo fought. He fought against. Canelo fought Josecito Lopez the same night. He was on Showtime, and it was on the same night as Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez. So De La Hoya could have been like, oh, it's disrespectful to have Canelo competing with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez pay-per-view on HBO. But De La Hoya did what he felt, and they were both in Vegas. Both fights. I think the Chavez one was at MGM. The other one was like maybe at Thomas and Mack. But they were both in Vegas. So De La Hoya didn't have a problem then when he made his boxing fight the same night as the other. So, I mean, it's a business. People aren't going to hold out. If the fighters agree, the date's available in your city or in Vegas, and it's a go for all the fighters, and the promoters and UFC agrees and Showtime agrees, then it's a deal. But to me, this is why De La Hoya was upset, because he knows that Triple G is not the biggest name. He's a good fighter. He has some popularity. He's Team Jordan, stuff like that. But he's not as big as Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? I guarantee you, if I show my mom, who watches she doesn't even really watch sports, definitely not UFC or boxing, she'll have a better chance of recognizing Conor McGregor than Triple G. She wouldn't know who Triple G is. You know what I mean? And the other thing you got to look at is this is subtle, but I look at the whole picture. Triple G, he speaks, his English is improved, so I'll give him that. But Canelo, he doesn't really speak much English, versus Mayweather McGregor. And this might not sound like a big deal to some of y'all, but when they trash talk, it's all in English. You know what I'm saying? People back home in Ireland, they'll understand what he's saying. People from Grand Rapids to Vegas and all around the United States, they'll understand the dialogue in the States where the fight is happening. Versus Canelo, I've seen he's already started his press tour, and most of his interviews majority of them are in Spanish, and not everyone understands Spanish. So like, and on top of that, Triple G and Canelo aren't really the aggressive trash talkers like Mayweather and McGregor. So people just really have to bank on the fight and maybe a face-off and 24/7s to watch them train and get hyped off of that. Versus Mayweather McGregor, people would be hyped from the trash talk and the like, oh, Floyd, you're full of shit. You know what I mean? All this extra stuff that they're going to do because they're both characters. Let me know what you guys think. I really think that's why De La Hoya is upset, because he knows that was a jab at his company, and I think it affects the numbers. Make sure you share the video. Like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.